Let's take a minute and discuss water and the importance of having a good water supply. And I think most people know, especially if they've been preppers for any length of time, how important it is to have at least a gallon of water per person per day. Some individuals that are experts in the field recommend up to 3 gallons per person per day in hot conditions when you're really sweating and working. So that's quite a lot of water. Now, there's a number of inexpensive ways to stockpile some water. You can look on Craigslist, for example, and you can often get used 55-gallon drums that are food grade, and they've had something in them where it's easy to wash out, something like vinegar, for example. And so you just get one of those. I've got many of those barrels for $10 a piece. Some years ago as cheap as $5 a piece. And you can just fill them up, and you can add a quarter cup of bleach, and just store them, and they're good. They're good to go. I mean, later on, 6 months, a year, 2 years, you'll probably have to repurify them, and we'll get to that in a minute. Another way is, if you can't get any of those barrels, you could even go down, as an expedient measure, you could go down to a Walmart, and they sell 32-gallon trash cans for about $10. Now, there's the plastic issue and all that in the water, so you might want to do some research. You could at least use it perhaps for bathing or something of that nature, for cleanup. But as far as storing it, you really want to foot out the money and get it bottled water, or store your water in some type of food grade container. Now, let's assume that you have water and that you've run out, or that maybe you're in a situation where you didn't store enough water. Now we're going to have to look at an expedient means to purify water from whatever source, be it a stream, be it rain collection from your roof. Standing water, such as in a pond or swamp, can be quite dangerous. There are ways to mitigate that danger, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So, one of the first things a person should probably do is purchase just an off-the-shelf water filter. I like this particular brand, Sawyer. I like it for a couple of reasons. One, the least of which is not the price. The price is very good on this, and I think it does just as good a job as more expensive filters. So there's a lot of reviews, and there's a lot of information on the internet about this water filter and other water filters. For the purposes of discussion in this video, let's just say you should probably have at least one, maybe two filters on hand that are off the shelf. So if you have to resort to an more expedient means, makeshift something up, you'll have to be a little more resourceful. It can be just as simple as starting with an empty container, like this one held iced tea, and a sock. And this sock was put down in there, and I put the end over the lip, and you can dip, say, out of a stream or a pond, and you can just pour it into the sock, like so, and let it drain out. If it's having trouble draining, filtering, you can actually pull the sock up and squeeze it. So that's one of the easiest ways to filter water. But remember, you're not purifying it, you're just filtering out the larger pieces of organic matter. The actual making it potable and safe to drink, there's a number of ways you can do that. I like to think of it in my own terms, I've kind of developed my own little thought process. It's called the 10-10-10 rule. And once you get it filtered from, the organic matter, even if it's a little bit muddy, not too much, just muddy is the wrong term, a little cloudy, you could actually put it in a used water bottle. And you could set it out, say, on the roof of your house or somewhere you're going to get 10 hours of sun, and the UV rays would kill whatever organisms in there that might do you harm. So that's one way of doing it. The other 10 is you can boil water for 10 minutes. You filter it out with some type of expedient filter. You could even use a coffee filter, some cotton balls, and you could take one of these old orange juice containers, cut the back top off, and then you could filter it with a coffee, folded up coffee filter. And then I have a sock in here. And then there's the cotton balls and another coffee filter that's holding it. So instead of filling it with coffee, you'd fill it with cotton balls. And then you just take a wide-mouthed jar or something that's suitable to set that on. And you just pour your water in the top here and let gravity do the work. Now, once you've got your filter, once you have it filtered out, then you can go ahead and boil it for 10 minutes. As I said, you can leave it in the sun for 10 hours. You can actually do it for less. There's been many studies done. Most of the studies say 3 hours, but when I'm using UV sun, I like to be really sure. So I leave it out all day. The other way is you can get regular household bleach, unscented bleach, no perfume, just general purpose bleach, and you can add 10 drops of bleach per gallon of water. Let it set for 30 minutes, and then that'll purify the water. Or actually, it doesn't purify it, it just treats it. If you don't have an eyedropper, you can actually just take a regular piece of paper, cut a small strip of paper, and take a teaspoon, and you can pour a little bit of bleach in there and then just angle your spoon down and it will drop. And just count them out, 10 drops per gallon. So if you want to take it a step further, because I think it's very important to do so, because up to this point we've only made water drinkable from the perspective of biological threats. If there's chemicals, then they're not going to be taken care of just by putting bleach in the water or boiling it even. Now, you could take this, for example, and instead of putting a sock, you could put charcoal in here. And after you've done the previous steps we've talked about, you could put charcoal in there and then pour that treated water in, and the charcoal would hopefully take out, unless it was really, really toxic, heavy metals and things, but it would get most of it out. And it would probably get all of it out, or at least enough to make it safe to drink. So that's a step you can do. So this is part 1, and in part 2 I'll go over a few more things and talk about distilling water and collecting water, and a few more things that are important to think about. So stay tuned for the next video. I'll post it up shortly.